Well, Steve, another fine mess. I'm almost just tired. I'm just tired of it all, I really am. But Newcastle United, what's your take on the late shenanigans of Tuesday as we sit here on Wednesday?
Just sort of beggars belief, doesn't it, that we're back in this situation again. I know Kevin Keegan hasn't actually gone yet, but it doesn't look good even if he does stay. Obviously relations aren't great. I just think as well, I was talking to some of my mates last night, and we were on a Sunday football team between we work in recruitment, in journalism. One lad's a painter, and the club's run better than Newcastle United.
I know. I mean, usually people come out with those type of things and sound trite, and you can't really make a distinction or make a comparison between these things. But there are, basic ways to do things and basic ways not to do things. And it just looks like Newcastle United have gone down completely the wrong path.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of what happened yesterday, it's a disgrace that the club took 6-7 hours to come out with any sort of statement. For whatever reason, the town was just awash with rumour. Whoever thought that was, Sky Sports News, the media, whoever, the club had to respond. The fact they didn't respond till 7 p.m. was a complete and utter farce, a complete joke. Left the supporters, in total limbo. An absolute shambles, it hinted at the type of farce that you're talking about there behind the scenes. What I'm really worried about now is obviously how things move forward. Now, today we're hearing from people close to Kevin Keegan that he wants to stay on as manager. Obviously the club, whether they've acknowledged the fact that the fans are just incredibly supportive of Keegan, whether it's for that reason or whether they just, realise that they can't just have change for change's sake. They seem to be moving towards a position where they, want to broker some sort of peace deal. I mean, do you think that's possible? I mean, I'll have my say in a minute.
I just think if he stays, they've got to accept that they've got to give him the authority and the power that he needs, that Kevin Keegan should have. They brought him back for certain reasons, and yet they've kind of pulled the rug from under him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now this must have opened their eyes to the fact that Keegan needs to be at least in more control than what he appears to be now.
Absolutely. I mean, Kevin always said all the way down the line, which is one of the many baffling aspects of this whole saga, that he's absolutely happy with the relationship he's got with Dennis Wise, he's got with Tony Jimenez, Derek Lambius, Mike Ashley, and then suddenly, obviously, there's been a huge falling out. It's clearly just been papering over the cracks all this time. The way I see it going, I actually think now that some sort of peace deal, in inverted commas, will be agreed. I think for diplomacy's sake alone, both parties will come together. Maybe some sort of compromise will be struck. But I have a feeling it'll just be, for cosmetic purposes only. I think further down the line, the fact is, as you just said, Keegan needs to be the main man.
And
he's an English manager. Yeah. That's what English managers expect. It's what he's always had. Needs to be the main man. He hasn't been the main man all summer on transfers. That's a fact. You can see that by the deadline day deals that they did. Two players that, I'm willing to bet Kevin Keegan never heard of until certainly the last week or so. He needs to be his own man. And I don't think that Mike Ashley is either going to be prepared or able to actually change the structure of the club enough that quickly to satisfy Keegan's need. When you think about it, he's brought in Wise, he's brought in Jimenez, he's brought in Viteri. Tony Jimenez, of course, is an ex-Chelsea steward, so I'm not going to comment on his qualifications to have anything to do with Newcastle United. Jeff Viteri is a complete mystery to everybody. Derek Lambius has come in, hasn't stuck his head above the parapet once, in this whole saga, not least in the last 24 hours when he should have done as a managing director stroke chairman. But basically Ashley's put together a huge, or certainly very involved and very detailed boardroom framework there. And he's also very much his own man, Mike Ashley. People shouldn't forget that. He's gone about business his own way for the last 20-odd years. He's not played by the rules as governed by the city, etc., etc. He's his own man. He wants to do things his own way. It would be an incredible U-turn for him to dismantle that boardroom framework that he's built up just to satisfy the fact that Keegan wants to be his own man. So I can't see that happening. So all I can see in terms of a long-term future for Kevin Keegan and Newcastle United is for a third party to come in and buy the club from Mike Ashley and say to Kevin, you're the manager, go and manage, here's X amount of money, go and find us players. Because the thing that Mike Ashley, I don't think, has really understood and acknowledged, one of the several dozen things he hasn't understood and acknowledged about Kevin Keegan, about Newcastle United, is the one thing that Kevin Keegan can be relied to do is spot a player. Now whether, he hasn't got his contacts across Europe like Jeff Viteri has, but he still can spot a player. He can send scouts out to Europe. They can come at him and say, we've seen this person. Keegan is then capable of going out, looking at the player and thinking, is that a Newcastle United player? He's quite capable of doing that, and he should be doing that.
And also, you know, the Newcastle may not have the pull that others do now, but Kevin Keegan will still have that aura, won't he?
Absolutely. So, as I say, long-term, Keegan future at Newcastle, either there's an Ashley climb down, which I can't see happening, or a new owner comes in. And obviously, in the light of what's happened at Manchester City, there's talk about this Indian businessman, Ambani, I think he's the 6th or 7th or 8th richest man in the world, according to figures. You know, when fans see what's happening in Manchester City, and they hear names like, you know, this sort of Indian company mentioned, and then they see the complete and utter shambles that has become a Newcastle United over the last few weeks, and certainly in the last 48 hours, they can't fail to think, well, wouldn't we be better off in foreign hands? It's a sad fact, but it's true. But as I say, I think the next few days we'll see some sort of peace deal brokered. Unfortunately, unless things change massively, I think it will be a temporary reprieve.
At least if they do form some sort of peace pact, they'll be able to toast it over a nice non-alcoholic drink.
Indeed, yeah. A non-alcoholic drink that makes you shiver like that just after you've drunk it. Yeah. I'll have to buy some of that, actually. I'm not so good on hangovers as Steve all knows. So.